You know, there's a saying at the UWC that the UWC education is an education like no other, and it sure is. And this school is the happiest school. If only the world could be this happy. But what I look out at you all, and it's just a thrill to be here. And so thank you for giving us such a great time. We were up at Kruger Park over the weekend. So we've had a lot of time with Stephen, and we've had a lot of transportation courtesy of Stephen and the school, and we loved it all. And the greeting we got last night when we arrived here was special. Thank you all for that, and the music this morning was special. Thank you all for that. So in the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to just try to tell you a little bit about my life story. And I have a few notes here because I'm going to boil it down, but also I have a tendency to wander off the reservation. And I've got to try to stay on point, so to speak. Can you hear me okay? Oh, good. Okay. Well, one thing I'm going to talk about is the family motto, which is the first 30 years of your life, focus on learning, and the next 30 years of your life, focus on earning, and the remaining 30 years or so of your life, if you've been fortunate, especially, focus on returning. So learn, earn, and return is the kind of motto. And I got a lot of good habits, I think, from my parents and my grandmother. They taught me to be creative, frugal, and don't be a bragger, be friendly. These were little traits, but they also told us a little bit about how to live our life. As an example, they want us to focus when we're trying to do something during the day. Focus on the job at hand. My father used to say, don't put off to tomorrow what you can do today. Because, it's going to take the same amount of time tomorrow, so why not get it done right now? So that's how he did it. He taught me to earn money. We had chickens when I was growing up, under 10. And under 10 chickens, I was under 10 years old. And my job was to keep the chickens healthy, but also I could earn money if I could sell the extra eggs to the neighbors. So I learned how to earn money quite early in life, maybe around 7 or 8 years old. I'd take baskets of eggs and take them around to the neighbors. They taught us to save and have. If you're going to save, if you're going to have money, you have to save. And so one of the things they talked about was use it up, wear it out, make do, or do without. That keeps you out of the stores. And so we learned that. And then my father taught me the rule of compound interest. It's called the eighth wonder of the world by Albert Einstein. And I won't go into that now, but it's how if you save money and invest it over a long period of time, the compounding is astounding if you've been even half successful. So basically, I got my business genes from my father and my humanitarian genes from my mother. My mother was a dreamer and an idealist. My father was a realist and a doer, so to speak. Both were internationalists. That was very important. And they internationalized me by introducing me to a microcosm of the world on some trips. When I was about your age, we took trips on Pan American Airlines, which is no longer around, but you could stop over at various places and find, and then deviate off an itinerary. It was much more liberal than it is today. I later saw a sign, at college, let's go to college next, because you're on your way to college. I was told by my parents, whatever courses you take, think about why you're taking them in terms of what they're about. And usually they're about people in a way that have survived the test of history. That's why you study them. So you study great authors, you study great musicians, you study artists, you study physicists, or in science, everything from Galileo to Einstein. These people have in the past been successful enough and made a difference enough so that you're studying them now. And you can learn from leaders. And so in effect, you often are studying leaders in their field at the time they were around. And so that's something to think about when you're going to college. don't worry too much about what you're studying. Look for leaderships and lessons from leadership. Okay, now let's see what I got here. Well, so that gets us through college. Then I went to work at the Bank of New York. It's the oldest bank in the country. They recruited me, and their salaries were really low. But I got lucky, very lucky, because I was able to live at home and save money and still take that job. And I was loving the job, and I was learning on the job. And here I was, I'd been paying to go to college all those years. And now I was being paid, I was learning in college. And this is the learn phase. But I was learning, I was being paid to learn at my first job. So remember, your first job isn't important. You should continue to keep learning. Remember, it's 30 years of learning. And so it's not just college, it's after college, from the jobs you may take early on in your career. And they aren't going to maybe be your last job, but as long as you're learning, it's an important thing to think about in your choice of job. So don't just think about the money. Think about how much you're learning. So when I got promoted and so forth, because other people ahead of me were leaving because the salaries were low to other more full-paying jobs, and that, of course, got me promoted faster because there were vacancies. And so I ended up being the head of the research department at the age of 27. I'd only been there since 21. And so then I ran the research department. And at 30, just on schedule for the learn, earn, return cycle, I decided, well, I've learned enough. I'm going to try going out on my own. And so with a partner I met at the bank, we went out on our own, and we started really slowly, very small, one employee and ourselves. And it was slow going for a number of years. But we lived frugally, and we learned more, and we invested well. And eventually, we got lucky. We got very lucky. And let's see. What happened was we got, in a sense, a tailwind. The stock market had done nothing for 10 or 15 years, and so it was just bobbing around. And then all of a sudden, in 1982, it took off, and by 1997, it had gone up 10 times. 10 times. And by the way, that's happened to my father, too. The market went up 10 times in 20 years when he started his business. After the World War II, 1948 or so. Everybody was expecting a depression after the war ended, when all the tanks and guns were not going to be made anymore. And instead, the GIs that came home from that gory war, were tired of war, and they wanted to get married, and they wanted to buy cars, and they wanted to move into a house and have children. And so they bought a lot of insurance on all those products. Life insurance, they wanted it because they'd seen why you need it. Automobile insurance was sort of mandatory, and homeowners insurance was mandatory too. So that industry boomed, sort of like the internet now, and he did very well. And we did very well in financial stocks when they boomed the last 10 or 15 years. Okay, so we had this huge tailwind, and our assets under management grew from like 2 billion to 35 billion, in about 10 years. The last 10 years of my career, working career. So at 60, just right on schedule, I thought, well, we've done well, and that was 30 years of work in the earning phase. And, I think our minister said to me once, Shelby, I've never seen anybody take their money down in the box when they're gone. It's better if you use it while you're alive. And so, that's what I started doing. And I got extremely lucky. I met a man named Dr. Phil Geyer. He was running the school, the UWC school in New Mexico. And, charity starts at home. And we had our back office in New Mexico. I work out in New York, but, anyway, I met him on a chairlift, a ski. And he eventually got me a couple months later to go down and see the United World College International show they put on. and I was mesmerized by the talent I saw, like I'm seeing here on the stage, in music, dance, you name it. I mean, it was an amazing experience to see that in a school you can learn, I'd say, just about as much out of the classroom as you learn in the classroom in a place like this and at that school there. The schools are pretty much the same. And so I decided, well, Americans need to learn about the world. We're going to give some scholarships to the Americans that go to these UWC schools. And that's what we did. And then I started visiting the schools, and I was here in 2006. And, I was on one of my visits, but wasn't, this is, well, anyway, it was a great one. But I went around and I visited, I don't know which ones first, but I think we went to Vancouver in Canada, to the school in Canada. We went to Norway, Wales, and Italy on the first school trip. And then we got down here, I think, a little later. And we've been to all the schools at least once, and I'm on my round, and some twice, and this will be my second visit here. And we want to do that because I learned from work, it's nice to have ideas, but then you want to check up and see if they're working. And I certainly got positive reinforcement here. So the last 30 years or so, I mean, we're going to hopefully it'll last 30 years, but it's been almost 20 years now. We've been investing in students who have one characteristic. They have to have gone to a UWC school. That's our gateway to these scholarships. And so, and it's a good gateway because when you think about it, you all have, whether you know it or not, developed winning habits. The habits are that it's about a 10-to-1 chance that you can get into this school, as an example. 10-to-1. And if you got in, then you have won a contest, right? And now you apply to a university in the United States, and it'll be a 10-to-1 chance you get into one of those, or a 5-to-1, or whatever it is. But it's another contest, and you won a second contest. So what does that tell me? I'm investing in you because you have winning habits. And your parents probably told you, don't get bad habits, because those bad habits are hard to break. But let me tell you, as you heard from my past, my frugal past, my earning past, well, if you get good habits, they're hard to break too. So my bet is that you have proven that you have good habits and are winning habits, and you can be the pebbles, as Stephen said, the pebbles that are thrown in the pond and make ripples. In other words, you have talents that can make a difference in the world and make the world a better place. And it's a big world, I admit, but no matter where you are, in your community, at your job, in the family, raising your children the right way, with the right, talents and the right habits that you help them develop, you will make a difference wherever you are, whatever field you're in, and we need more people like you in the world, and we need the happiness that comes out of this school and the other UWCs to be spread around the world. And so let me see if I have anything else here. Well, anyway, you've been the right cause at the right time in the right place, and I've hit the jackpot again, investing in you. The only difference is between investing in you and investing in my career and investing in you is, while I was investing in my career those last 15 years or so, the money was rolling in. And now the money is rolling out. It's a big difference. But in the return phase, well, I think I'll end with that.